Welcome, everyone. So, thank you for joining us today for Inspired Entrepreneurs Week. This speaker series is brought to you by the MSU College of Business, Department of Management, and Center for Entrepreneurship. My name is Becky Prater, and I'm the host today. I believe that if we see what it looks like to be an inspired entrepreneur, we are more likely to become one. So, our inspired entrepreneur today is Samantha Donen. I don't even, how did we even meet?
I took your entrepreneurial class that
Oh,
you
yeah,
were
WAG Denver.
offering. Mhm.
Yes, but Samantha also is an adjunct teacher in the industrial design department. So I don't know if you're still doing that, but I know that you have.
Yes, I have. I haven't done that this year, or last year because I was busy putting businesses together. Um, but hopefully I'll come back, in the future. And
Yeah, because it was good. It was like design thinking, right? Isn't that what you were teaching?
yeah, it was so much fun. Amy Kern, who is a full-time faculty in the industrial design department, she had put that class together, and I was just so honored to teach it for one semester. And there were like business students in it, engineers, nurses, just like everybody was in it. And I think there was like three industrial design students in it. And so I really had to cater to a lot of different mindsets. And it was so exciting to see how over the semester, people who weren't used to thinking creatively or having to sketch out their ideas or give that kind of input, how they adopted new practices and new ways of communicating with existing jobs and their future careers.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so here's a bio. So Samantha Donen is an industrial designer specializing in soft goods. She's a gifted bass player and artist and entertainer, which who would ever know? And Donen graduated from MSU Denver with a Bachelor's of Science in Industrial Design and is now teaching design or was teaching design thinking. Her industrial design career began as a master artist of mannequins for Nike, NBA, Old Navy, Under Armour, Target, and Michael Kors. That's amazing. She's won several design awards for her work. She has also worked as a design project manager and industrial soft goods designer at WAG Harness, IFuzion, and Angel Armor. In 2024, she started her own design company, a consultancy, Donen Designs, and is currently works for new and existing brands, designing and developing soft goods. So the reason why she is so important for me to me is because when I was creating my clothing company, I the part about actually taking what you've created, which you're good at creating, and taking it into like how is it then manufactured? That's like a mystery. It's a mystery for most people. And so she's the person that sort of that makes that happen. So I would like you to like tell us about kind of your journey, the journey all along the way, and then what has it led you into and what does your business look like right now?
Okay. So Donen Designs LLC, it's a design for manufacture company. We specialize in eco-sourced materials for soft goods projects. We only work with large projects, like full like product lines. I don't work with like people who are just going to be doing bits and pieces. I like to take on the whole project. That way, we can really ensure that we're sourcing and diversifying the supply chain in the right international markets to where they're going to be selling it. At this time, we focus on working with startups and smaller companies we can help build a sustainable and eco-source product line with that does not already have existing conflicts in their supply chain or business setup. We've helped companies pivot with new product lines as well. And we have done split soft goods and hard goods projects. I do have a website, and you'll see that we have things like baby strollers and outdoor heated outdoor furniture designs that we did. And when we work with hard goods, we bring in engineers who focus on that because my passion is sourcing eco materials, making the products sustainable, and focusing on the textiles.
Oh, fantastic. Well, talk about like how you graduated and then how did you like what's your journey along the way, your entrepreneurial journey?
So when I graduated, I started working for other companies, which I think is always a great opportunity as an entrepreneur. I know people who didn't work for other companies and started businesses and just kind of went with it. But I found I was studying like what was working and what wasn't working, from their design process to their product development to their prototyping and testing, how quickly they were putting things out on the market that didn't work or did work. And so I started hopping around and working for different companies. And then I started going away from larger companies towards smaller startups to see if there was a difference. And then I worked for Gemba, and they didn't have a soft goods division. They just kind of had all their designers, like, I don't know, draw straws and they'd be on something. And so they didn't really have designers specialized in soft goods working on their products. So I pitched them this idea. It was the first time I pitched that I should develop their soft goods department and direct it and make sure that all the factories we were working with, because we were an international company, that we weren't trying to make hard goods factories find soft goods factories for us, that I would fly out, that I would go vet, and that we should also have sourcing agents that specialized in soft goods. So that we then created a division within the company where we had an electronics design like department, hard goods, and soft goods. And a lot of times I'd be brought into meetings where people wanted to understand, hey, what's the difference between soft goods and hard goods? Like, where's the line, And I basically was like, hey, the line is anything that's, textile, even non-woven textiles. So if like we're working with a product that is PVC or like PIVA, or inflatables, anytime, we had to make like paddle boards or rafts, and things that inflated, that came into our soft goods department. And so it was a really exciting place to work.
What is Gambas? What do they sell?
Service. And they sell basically that you could work with a startup, as a startup, that they have all of these factories all over the world and these expert designers that you could work with to build your business. So that's what they sell. I absolutely loved everything about the company and working for them, and met people all over the world. I won an award for creation as a team sport when I worked on the Ollie World. And we won a lot of awards just for the Ollie World swaddle. It's won Best Swaddle of the Year ever since we designed it, like 5 years in a row, in lots of like Good Housekeeping type magazines and stuff.
Like a baby swaddle, the thing you wrap a baby in? Whoa!
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. And I won a award for diversifying their supply chain and working with India, China, and Central South America to get, because everything was proprietary with Ollie. We made proprietary materials that needed to be milled, like from scratch, and strung and made into yarns, and then made into the material, and then dyed. And even our Velcro was proprietary that we had developed for it. So matching that in three different regions was challenging. People were getting frustrated. We didn't want the products to be going out and looking different, but you have different manufacturing methods. And so this turned into, I had studied industrial design, and my job was supposed to be coming out of school, drawing in a big room with lots of people. But it turned into a passion for me, to develop products, to learn about materials, to understand manufacturing processes, and that I still loved being in the design room. But I didn't always have to be the person designing. So I started building out these phenomenal teams. I met industrial designers from all over the world, and some were more specialized in other things. And the further I went, I was with Gemba for about 5.5 years. um, uh, in building this soft goods, more and more clients wanted to do sustainable product lines.
Wow.
And so I started to learn about all new materials, and it became a passion for me to learn about like regenerative materials that were like made from the earth and then turned into materials that, as they wear down, they're putting, earth back into the earth. And I started reading books like Let My People Go Surfing, which is the story of Patagonia. And just, any book I can get on, sustainable practices. And then I would talk with other designers, and it seemed to me like a lot of people who were passionate about sustainable design had been burnt out and didn't think it was possible anymore. And I'm the type of person when someone says something's not possible, I'm like, let's see about that. So I I really took that as a challenge. And, I flew down to Peru and Colombia, and I was seeing fabrics that were made from banana and sugar cane and injection molding that was like happening from coffee grinds. And I was like, I don't know if like this is sustainable. So then I went a step further with apparel. I started to hear, eco sourcing going around for materials. And I was like, what's the difference between eco sourcing and recycled materials? Aren't they the same thing? And, people who are really passionate about eco source materials were like, absolutely not. And so I started to understand, okay, it's a good thing, and sustain, there's like all these levels with it, but it's a good thing when you're designing a product and you want it to be eco-friendly or eco-sourced or eco-made, to understand the different levels. And so I started to become an expert on what that was and how much of a product could be considered organic. Sorry, like spoiler alert, most products that you buy that are organic only have to be 95% organic, not 100% organic. So, like, I was like heartbroken. I was like, oh my God, I'll never walk into Whole Foods again. They're liars. But, like, you get over that and you start to realize, like, okay, the feasibility of making a product, what needs to go into it, who's doing something new. So anytime I had to use rubber, I discovered this company in America called Solemn that was making regenerative rubber for footwear from like volcano ash and all this other proprietary stuff. So, it became such a passion for me that I was like, wow, this is all I want to do, And I felt like whenever I was meeting a new client or a new brand or working with an existing brand, I'd be like wanting to do something more eco with them. So I felt the best way I could continue to explore this and to work with like-minded people was to start Donen Designs. And so in 2024, there were 10 brands that wanted to work with me from Gemba. We made sure that was okay with Gemba, and we got to work. And so it kind of happened a little bit by accident. It definitely happened because of my passion and my curiosity to learn more and to dig deeper and to understand um, what what are the roadblocks internationally on having a really good carbon footprint? Like, where are you selling your product? If it's in the US, why are you going over the pond? And why is it so hard to find manufacturers in Central South America? It was like it was such an experience for me, just like even culturally, I spent about 6 months, on and off in Central South America, just understanding their culture, why they wouldn't have factories equipped to make the things that are normally made with nylon ripstop and, for outdoor equipment and things like that. I knew I was in the right places when I was walking into a media meeting and Patagonia was walking out. I'm like, I'm in the right you know, and I met other people who sourced for companies that I didn't know the names, they wouldn't be well known. And that was just like their whole job. And that's, just that was my education. I didn't go to school for it, right? I just like hit the ground running and asked a lot of questions and networked and, went and visited these places. And And there's nothing to me more exciting than seeing a t-shirt get made. I've taken this to heart in my life. I won't buy like a cheap t-shirt for $20 now, just because I need a t-shirt. Because once you see how a t-shirt is made, like the whole process, like if it's like 50% cotton, 50% polyester. It comes in bundles in these barrels, right? And then they like chop it up, and then they like comb it, and then they like weave it, and it goes through all of these machines, and then it becomes like these big spools of like thread and yarn, and then it goes into this climate controlled area, where like it looks like toilet paper, all around this thing, and it's all being like stitched into a big piece of material. And with t-shirts, they're usually seamless. So that is like a whole like technology into itself. And then after, just the main part of a t-shirt's made, then the sleeves are made on a different machine, then it goes over to a production line of sewers who sew that together and, seam it. And then it goes over to the screen printers or wherever, and somewhere in that process it might have gotten dyed, which is like these like huge submarine looking tanks. and and you go, wow, I own like 100 t-shirts, and I will definitely donate them if I don't wear them again. I would never throw a t-shirt out, but maybe I need to rethink buying a concert t-shirt or and it just became a passion.
Mhm.
So I started Donen Designs. It's a service-based company. Um, the difference between me and a freelance contractor is I only take on large projects. I want a long-term relationship with someone. I want to work with a startup. I want to work with someone who has never had a business before and share my contacts, my knowledge. So it's like a full service from design to production. And then once we get to production, if they want to make another product, then we just keep the relationship going. Otherwise, I'm like basically, there the whole way to help them get their product made the way that they want it to be made. And I love what I do. I'm excited when I have a meeting at 5 a.m., like to talk with someone on the other side of the world. I once had a client, Amaji, you would see on my website. He was in New Zealand. So either I had to meet him at 5 a.m. or 9 p.m. We were like perfectly 12 hours apart. And I love that. I love the diversity of working with people all over the world. I love language barriers. I love learning new languages. I'm not fluent in really anything, but I pick up on stuff. And I could talk manufacturing in a lot of languages, and that's what I do. Yeah. So
So tell me, like, okay, you talked about how you kind of explored Central and South America. Who paid for that exploration? Was it just you saying, I'm gonna learn this, or did Gemba pay for it and
um,
search for better materials?
originally Gemba paid for it, and then the brands that I work for will send me on trips.
Okay. Okay. And then tell us, okay, so you said China, India,
Yeah.
South America.
I just started exploring Indonesia, which I'm really excited about because I've been working with Stomp Athletics from basically when I graduated. It was like one of my first design jobs. And there were many, I designed all their products. And so for many years I didn't work with them. But when I started doing designs, they were like, we want to diversify. And I had found them a USA manufacturer because originally they wanted to be USA based. So circling back to what you said earlier, I have a lot of manufacturers I could work with within the US when people have smaller quantities or they want to be US based because I've also done military design. So I have to know where we can make stuff so it's very compliant. Um, but yeah, so Stomp sent me on a big expedition. First, it was through Central South America, and then I had to work with a factory and a couple of mills down in Colombia to match the materials that we have been getting otherwise from China,
Mhm.
and um, and then developed the product so that it looked exactly like the product that we were making in Minnesota. And then once we got that good, we went to Indonesia because he sells a lot of his products in Europe, and we wanted to shorten the distance of where the materials are being sourced. It needs to be in the same country. Like if I'm doing my job right, it needs to be in the same country,
Mhm.
and in a really close location to whatever factory we're working with. And then wherever we're going to distribute and sell, we obviously want that factory to be as, close as possible to reduce our carbon footprint. I mean, you can always send things by sea cargo, but that's always the goal, so Indonesia so that we could supply to our European distributors. Sorry.
Do you sometimes get fabric, like you get actual the fabric from, ripstop nylon? Does that come from one place, or is it made in South America as well as China as well as India?
Well, here's a fun fact. Ripstop nylon is not made in South America anywhere. There are different environmental laws in South America than there are in China. China will always be a leader and capable of making pretty much anything. They're experts. I love working with China. I love all the people I work with in China, and they're really great at what they do. But South America to me is, and Central South America, Mexico and just all the, what their environmental restrictions already in place from Mexico, make it so that they can't add additives, right? They can't work with certain materials. That's why so many textiles that come out of there are made of cotton or polyester because those are very, easily sourced. But they also cater to they have tons of brands down there that are more into athleisure and soccer. So they don't really cater to like the mountaineering or like the outdoor sports. um, Nylon ripstop is something they would have to import in to make.
Mhm.
So what you find when you go to other countries is there's this thing called Rebag that's made in Colombia by this amazing mill down there that I've toured numerous times, and they're always pushing their limits on making new materials. There's a couple places in Colombia that are just really passionate about making materials that can be really durable, waterproof, UV resistant. And I mean, that's another thing that's so cool about Central South America is a lot of their materials, the way that they're knit will be like 50 plus UPF. Whereas if you're getting something from China, it's not going to be because it was knit like that, or from Vietnam or Japan, just being some of your larger manufacturers because they have the capability of spraying an additive on,
Oh my gosh.
creating a material. So like when you really start looking at eco-sourced materials, you really, and I'm going to circle way back here to what I was saying earlier, what got me passionate is you're looking at the way a material is made, right? So doesn't it seem more eco-sourced of the material if it doesn't have a spray additive, right? Or it doesn't have like a polyurethane coating. And it's all in the weave, it's all in the filaments that were used to make that fabric, make it durable, make it scratch resistant, make it tear resistant, like it's cool, right?
Wow. So you mentioned a code. Is it kind of like y-
It's like a
like a sun resistance or something?
yeah. So
Okay.
most products that we buy in the US that have UV resistance have been spray coated with a
Yeah.
UV resistance.
But when they can
Or bathed with it, because most materials for UV resistant apparel and clothing or outdoor furniture are made in China or overseas where they have different rules. Now step into India, you, you have the same issues. Like you're not going to find nylon ripstop there unless they're importing it in. You're not going to find UV rated things. What you are going to find in India is a whole other world of hyperallergenic materials, which is why I love working with India. Materials that are made from aloe, made from banana, and just really skin sensitive. So that's where we had started with Ollie World was when we made their proprietary material. We started in India because we wanted it to be hypoallergenic, um, moisture wicking, all
Wow. And so
that.
when you did that, if you can, what is that wrap mostly made out of? I would think it would be cotton, but what is it not cotton?
I can't tell you because I have an NDA for life with
Oh,
them.
ah. But they have
All
to.
my best work is under NDA.
Oh, okay. Well, I know that it has to be labeled on their product, what the fiber content is. Is it
Yeah.
like, is it some, that's what I mean. Like, is it,
Yeah, it'll say like, like a percentage of cotton and like a small percentage of polyester and a small percentage of lycra.
okay.
But um a funny thing about those labels that I didn't know. So the first time I went to a mill, and I was like looking at like how they had all these different filaments that look like toilet paper all around this thing that they were knitting or sewing together to make material. And I was like, so is that what you do? You just take like 80% polyester and 20% cotton? And they were like, no, they're like, it's a lot more mathematical equation than that when you're selecting the filament, especially the people who design materials. They experiment a lot. Um, and so it's kind of funny when you look at a label, it really doesn't tell you that much about what that material is. It just tells you enough for it to for people to know, like, hey, these are the main materials. And sometimes you don't have to put all of the ingredients in there. So,
Whoa. Oh my gosh, that's interesting. Oh. Okay, so tell us what have been some of your biggest challenges in your business?
oh boy. Okay, I made some notes so that I wasn't all talking off the top of my head. Okay. I have a couple different challenges. So Um, finding the right business partners took the entire span of my career because not only do I have Donen Designs, but because I've worked with so many startups and helping them make their products, I kind of wanted to have my own brand. So Donen Designs is all service based. So finding the right business partners to start new businesses with seemed ideal because I did Donen Designs all on my own, but I just kind of lucked out because I had all these people that wanted to work with me and support who had worked with me before. So, starting my own product line, I felt like I got to find people who are going to be able to complement my skills so that we can split the work and the thinking. And so once I did that, um, I was able to really look at starting my own product company. So these won't be like service based. They're just going to, one's called Archelli. I partnered with a colleague of mine in Texas, and it's an athleisure, gender neutral brand, all with eco-sourced materials. We're really excited about it. Our chili, because I went to Italy for the other brand that I'm working for, Cope, for Urban Outfitters. Cope is an existing apparel line in Manhattan, and I was just out there in January. I'm designing their shoes and bags for their existing streetwear design that's not on the market yet. And when I went to New York to go over the designs I had worked on, and they partially funded my trip to Italy and had me studying Italian streetwear design. I was showing them ideas that I had and directions we can go in, and had also flown home with a bunch of different shoes and bags for them to look at physically. And so, two shoes, it was going to be a low top and a high top, turned into three different high top designs, one mule and one low top. So now I'm making five designs for them. And then two bags turned into five bags. So it was kind of like this scenario once we got talking. And then the reason they want to work with me is because I have a relationship in Mexico with uh, a place where we can make like the soles in Leon, Mexico. It's a great place for shoe manufacturing in Mexico, and we're going to do it all eco there, and we're going to use some pretty unique materials. Like they injection mold soles there, like from like bamboo, sugarcane, like coffee grains. So we're looking at that, and then canvas is a really big material that you can find in Mexico, and we wanted to stick more to canvases for everything and vegan leathers. There is a great, just right next to Leon is Guadalajara. I think that, yeah, Guadalajara is on that side. There is a place called Deserto, and they make cactus leather. They make leather from cactus. I know.
Dang.
So we're using like a combo of like the vegan leather and then we wanted to do some screen printing. And screen printing is easy to find in Mexico if you want to do any kind of digital printing, not as easy to find. But so it was just everything that we wanted to do worked with where I worked with for Donen Designs. And then they also wanted the design. So sometimes people come to me with like a design already done. But then I'll have to tweak that design, make it manufacturable. You know, it might be kind of in a Frankenstein phase when I see it. Um,
Mhm.
and then I have to kind of improve the quality of their design and then source all the materials and connect them with a factory where we prototype. And so I do half my business in Central South America for production and manufacture, and then my other half overseas.
Hey, so have you actually had an experience with the cactus leather yourself, like shoes that are made out of that or backpack that's made out of it? Have you had that experience yet?
Yes, I have. I also have like a ton of samples. I have a materials library at my house, which I always welcome anyone who wants to come over and check out all the different materials I have. Because I have an entire closet dedicated to my material samples. So yes, I worked on a couple projects with Zerto for bags. On my website is Coco and Onyx. I designed treat purses that they wanted to kind of look like Coach meets Chanel without the price. And they're designer bags that you can put your stuff in, but also like poop bags, and there's like a whole inner panel. So we did real leather for some of their leather purses, and then we did the cactus leather for some of their, yeah.
And can you wash it? Is it
Yeah, it wipes. You know,
okay?
it's really easy to clean. I mean, you can't wash it in the washing machine. It'll fall apart like leather. You know, it's just not
Oh
right.
yeah,
But
you wouldn't do it with that
you
either.
can wipe it. It's very easy to wipe.
Oh
So
my gosh.
you
Now, do
have,
you have pictures of the work you've done? Any slides that show the work?
yeah, I have a whole website. And I'll just give you guys a quick little peek. I do have, there we go. So at the moment, if you went to donendesigns.com, I have a meme page and you can see some of the projects I've done. Some of them are not accessible, so just like message me, and then I'll give you access. I just trying to make sure to protect my clients from people phishing their info on their brand, and just make sure, you know, if it's a student or, you know, someone legitimate looking at, you know, the design work done for their work. But yeah, I have a ton more projects that I'm working on putting up here, but there's a good look at some of them.
Oh,
Uh,
nice. Now,
Imaging,
like if you click on one of those pages, does it bring up a bigger picture so you can see? I want to see like
yeah,
it's
yeah, like
like
so you'll
password
have to put like
protected.
a password, yeah. So that's what I was like kind of getting at was,
Okay, I see.
but yeah. And I'm like, I don't know if I remember my password right now, but I could look it up. And it's an honest response. Let's see. I know Stomp, you can look in a little bit more. Uh, so, anytime, I mean, a lot of people just share their stuff online, but I usually ask permission from my clients, like what am I allowed to share? So you could see a little bit. This is the product I designed for them. Um, it's basically to make it so that when you're in playing basketball or volleyball or any inside sport, like that instead of spinning on your hand and wiping your shoe, that you can get traction by just wiping your foot across the top of your shoe. So this went through a lot of different phases. And I was really proud of how it came out, and just how user friendly I made it, where it's just like it could go under, I think I studied like 400 different basketball shoes, even though these are more like tennis shoes they're showing here, as well as future trends forward to figure out how we would do the feet. And I made all these prototypes with file folders. That's my favorite thing to prototype with. And
Oh,
I had them on all like tons of different shoes. And then, so once I knew that this would go around any blocker, because some shoes have like a little tab here. Um, and then just working on the underneath, making it so that someone could go in any direction. So the entire bottom is a unbroken loop, so super soft. And I wanted it to be really user friendly. The original design idea was for it to kind of like clip on with snaps. And I just wanted it to feel real tactile, like something simple, and something people would be familiar with. So I designed this top piece so that people could just tie their shoelaces through it, and still, have it in place, and then just tuck their shoelaces behind it. And we went through a lot of different designs, trying to figure out what we wanted the actual traction on top to look like. And this was a lot of fun. I did it all in SolidWorks too. I don't normally work in SolidWorks as a soft goods designer, but anytime I have to do anything that involves compression molding, which this is, now this is a really hard product to make eco, because you have lamination and you have glue. Compression molding itself is not uneco, because it's just putting it together. But you have different glues and the materials you use, and then the inner part, we're using an EVA. So we went through a lot of iterations. And when I came back to work for them, in diversifying their supply chain, there were other products I designed, like mats for them and things like that. And you can always, I don't know if you can always go to their website and see um, that. Let me see. I'll show you their website really quick. Um, Another reason why I'm sharing them is because we were on Shark Tank last summer. It was really exciting. So then after the shoe armor, I made these travel mats for them, and these larger mats, which the travel mats, teams that travel, like for volleyball and basketball, love these because they're designed to fit inside their packs, and then they can put it right under them at the bench and have their own track mat. And then the larger mats usually go around the goalposts, stuff like that. But yeah, you can see all the different colors we came up with and all the stories and how it's used. Yeah. So, and then people use it as a traction mat. Another thing about this product, there are aspects to it that are not eco in the way that it's made, but we had noticed that a lot of professional sports were using sticky mats, and those are throwaways. So that's like a one and done kind of thing to use. With the stomp mat, you don't even need soap to like wash it off. The materials that we used on top, you can just spray it down. And we tested it, and you can get like something crazy, like 5,000 uses out of one mat, before it starts to break down. And so that's a lot.
That's a lot. That is so cool. Who would even thought? I'm not in the basketball world, so I just can't even imagine that.
And
Like, it's just something
I
I
didn't
didn't
even know how
know.
to play basketball, and I'd be like running around like, please look down, I'm so small, like adjusting things during the testing phase and stuff. And it was fun. And a lot of times I take on products that I am not familiar with. I think it makes me more curious. It makes me a better observer of what people who are used to using a product don't notice that they're doing, or are uncomfortable with.
Mhm.
And I think it helps me design better products for them, not knowing anything. Or like I designed ballistic carriers, and when I went into that, I had no military family, no experience with that. I'd never used a gun, like no understanding of that whole world. And it was so fun to go in there with fresh eyes and look, go do ride-alongs with officers, and go wear vests with rifle plates, and go, crawl on the ground and do all the things they were doing, and realize how freaking uncomfortable those things were, and come up with ideas and ways to make it more comfortable for them. And especially down in Louisiana, it's really hot. So when they have to wear protective gear, they're just soaked, and just like, how can we make these more moisture wicking? And then I worked with people who were outlier sizes. So, men who don't have like the perfect figure and might have like a larger stomach, who weren't wearing their carriers right. So if they did get shot and they had a rifle plate in, it would be like a mute point because they were wearing it so low to cover their stomach. So how to design things that would make them wear their best right, to really small women who worked in airport security in Texas, who they just didn't make vests their size. And then the needs, everybody wanting pockets that they can put stuff in, and hiding pockets, and what do they really need in there. And so it was a cool experience. Like, those are just some probably more out there projects I worked on. Most of the time it's like baby products and medical products and backpacks and, sports gear and fitness wear, and now fashion with the streetwear. So yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. So tell us about some times when you really had to pivot, like you in the middle of something, you're like, whoa, not this. Tell us about that.
It's a so I knew you were going to ask me that, and it's kind of like I don't know if this is what you're expecting, but for me, one of the biggest pivots I had to do with my company was pricing, and deciding that I was only going to take on like projects that I could contract, um, that were going to be like $10,000. Like, I won't go near anything less than that. And once I made that huge pivot, it was such a relief, because I felt like when I was taking on smaller projects, and a lot of the projects I price out will be, anywhere from 10 to 15 to 25K. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have 10, it's awesome, and very sustainable. But I felt like it just made it possible, at that point, just like a breath of fresh air, making that decision that I wasn't picking apart different stages in the design process, to try to meet someone's budget, or and it was just so much easier just to be like, okay, this is how long this project's going to take, from start to finish. This is how many products we're going to work on, and this is the whole phase, and this is how long it's going to take. And it just felt right. And it was also a pivot from just not taking on turn and burns. um, Another pivot for me was when I first started Donen Designs, hiring sourcing agents that I knew and people internationally. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be like Kemba. I was like, I'm going to have all these people on payroll. And And I didn't feel like when if I was going to be starting this company, I didn't want to like have to also hire like an accountant and bookkeeper and all these things. I was like, there'd be no money. So I made this huge pivot from hiring, like including other people that I would hire, their pricing in my contracts. And I came up with contracts for them, where this is my client and I'm hiring you to work on this. But like an agreement that they're going to put their own invoices together for their work and get paid directly from my client. So I'm like completely out. Doing that was amazing because it gave everybody more ownership of their role in the project. I don't like to micromanage people. I love to help build people up. And I love to make it so that people feel really comfortable asking for what they want. And because I feel really comfortable asking for what I want. And just having more ownership of their projects. And then it opened up more collaboration for me with everyone. So it's been fantastic. And some of them have started businesses because of that, where they've hired people, you know, um, within, like hired them, but now they have a company name and they hire other people to do parts. And so um, that was a huge pivot for me, just being like, nah, I'm not doing payroll. I'm not including that in contracts anymore. Is like I'm just going to talk about my work. I know what I'm going to do, and the people we're going to have to hire. So
Wow. And then, oh, that is so nice. That is, I can see that that's a really smart decision to have made.
thank you. And then the third pivot, because there's always a three and a surprise fourth. Um, my third pivot was accounting because I was doing most of my own bookkeeping. I thought it was really important for me to do something that wasn't so time consuming. And I was using Excel sheets and I was using notes on my phone for time tracking and just stuff like that. And a friend of mine who is now going to be a business partner with me at Arcelli, she was like, you have to get QuickBooks. And I was like, no, I don't. I was like, and uh, and then Becky, you reached out to me and I was teaching at the time, and you said there was an accounting graduate class that wanted to see if they could help the bookkeeping of a small business owner. And I was like, 100%. So I worked with them for 3 months, setting up my account with FreshBooks, which I really like new apps and like hip apps and things that don't have like all these hidden like menus that you have to find. But it still took us 3 months to set it up with everything I would need to like price and getting all my clients in there. And just everything. So now it's like what used to take like an hour to put an estimate together takes me 5 minutes. What used to take me half a day to do all my invoices and, total up hours for the month spent on a projects, or whatever, like all these little time consuming things you do. Um, like it all just auto generates and all I have to do is just double check that everything looks right and then click send. So that was a huge pivot for me, just like recognizing that I want to be designing more, I want to be learning more and exploring, but I really don't want to have to hire all these people to do these things. So how do I make it easy? And so those were three huge pivots for me.
Oh, good. I love to hear that. I love to hear it. So FreshBooks has worked.
FreshBooks, I recommend FreshBooks to anyone. I mean, I think it's like $38 or something like that a month, which like you don't want to have like any expenses at all if you don't need to. But it's totally worth it. I don't have to hire someone to do my bookkeeping at the end of the year. I could just pull up all of my tax info. So I can even take credit cards, I can do wire transfers on it. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's worth it.
Thanks. Oh,
It
that's
is time consuming to set up, but once you have it set up, you know,
Yeah.
Or you can go talk to the graduate program and see if there's another accounting team that wants to set it up for
I
you.
think they do that once a year, once a semester, but it's so cool. It's
Yeah.
so cool. And then you get to work with students and they're grad students. So
Yeah, and they get to put it on their resume. Yeah, it's a
yeah, it wins. Everybody wins. It's so good. So what do you see, where do you see yourself going with your business?
well, Donen Designs is service-based, and so in its passion, it's where I get to explore all these things. But where is he going over the next year is I have three product-based companies. I had a dog company that was originally WAG Harness, which then became Woof and About, which I've now partnered with someone, and it's going to be called Pish Off. My life is a graphic novel, and we're only designing bougie dog apparel. And so we're going to be launching that just for Christmas. It's really awesome. And then Cope for Urban Outfitters. I'm going to go 50-50 with Cope. And since I'm going to be handling all their accessories. And then Arcelli is another company. So all of my short-term goal is just finishing our design and development of our first products that we want to get out there, which won't take too long for us to test, won't take too long for us to design and develop, and we should be able to start doing pre-sales and have them out on the market between Q4 and Q1 of next year. But 5 years from now, I want to be in a place where not only are all these companies that I have going right now um, doing well and they have multiple product lines, but that I want to be able to step back and just be a founder at that point um, of the companies and be able to hire and employ um, Coloradans that live here and that are in the creative field and give them an interested in eco-sourced materials and give them an opportunity to live here and have a job in that because it's so hard to get into these companies that do that here. So I hope to be able to do that and be able to be in a spot where I can um, invest in other startups, like a seed,
Mhm.
um, just entrepreneurial ventures that I think look promising. I was just working with this young lady who designed a really cool product, and she just doesn't have the funding, but I just think it's so cool. So I want to be in a position where I can, invest and help, someone else um, start their business.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. Wow. Okay, so tell us about something about your business that would surprise us.
Aha. All right. Well, you're not going to believe me, but my company Donen Designs happened by accident. I did not intentionally start a design sourcing and product development company. All right. Just want y'all to know that. As I grew in the industry and I was so curious and so excited about what I was learning and the more people I met, and just sharing my passion. I think passion is something the previous speaker talked about, but I think if you have a passion for something, especially a business that you're starting, people pick up on that. And it makes it, you just start to meet a lot of people. So I started having entrepreneurs reach out to me or people I met, and they wanted to ask me questions about what I knew. And at first, I just gave the information freely. That's just how I am. If I learn something, I want you to learn it too. I'm so excited to share it, find out what you think about it, and see what I can learn from you, learning about what I just learned. But I realized I should be charging for my time and knowledge because it took time. And once I started charging consultation fees, then they would ask what my process and timelines look like and if I would put an estimate together. So my very first contract for my business was 25K. And then I was surprised how many companies and people I knew in the industry wanted to work directly with me internationally. That was so humbling to me. And then I needed a company name, website, and company email because there was this supplier I was trying to get samples from and they refused my Gmail account. So overnight, I think it was like 12 a.m. I like created a domain name. That's why it's Donen Designs. I couldn't think of anything better at that hour. And got my EIN, registered with the state of Colorado, did everything. Made an appointment online that night with my bank. Went in the next day, opened up a bank account, got a company credit card, which was so cool. And like, it was just like, oh wow, I'm legit, like, there's my name and my company name. And then yeah, just did all of that like within 24 hours and we were off, you
Oh, I
know.
love that.
Yeah, I had to set up Stripe and Zelle and all that. And all of a sudden there was 25K in our account. And I was like, guess I'm a business now. So
Oh my gosh, I love when that happens.
yeah.
You talked about having your own product, your own products, and how do you sell those? Like I know I used to have to go to trade shows and set up a booth and sell my stuff. Are you going to be doing that same thing, or how are you going to be selling your stuff?
We are going to do e-commerce. We are going to be doing so. So with all three brands, our products, we already have a very targeted market that we're going to be going after, and people already in that market that are asking for it. So we're going to try to do as much direct to consumer and e-commerce. Obviously, Amazon. I've learned if you work with anyone in this industry designing a product, they're going to go on Amazon at some point.
Oh yeah.
So, I've worked with so many startups going on Amazon and setting that up. So we'll be there. We'll have a website. We'll do e-commerce. We'll probably do Shopify too at first with a lot of them. And as far as conventions, uh, I don't think that us personally, we will go as a company to conventions, but we have targeted users in the field, and they might potentially go. Cope is at all of the fashion shows in Manhattan and Paris and already. They already do all the fashion weeks, so that's where they'll probably do a lot of their advertising. And
Gotten to
Cope,
go?
what?
You gotten to go to the fashion shows in New York?
A couple times when I was younger, because my sister works in the industry, and they're pretty exciting. Yeah, the whole I always kind of stayed away from the fashion side because it's totally different than the industrial design side. But now that my worlds are kind of merging, I really appreciate it. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's a pretty exciting world, and people just know so much. Like when I was out in New York, they were doing all of the male designs for Fashion Week, so that was pretty exciting. I didn't go to the fashion shows, but just talking with all the fashion designers about it, and just all the details and the different brands. It's a different world, you know. So
Yeah, and a very exciting one though.
yeah,
Wow. Okay. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I wish we could talk for a lot longer because I know you have a lot of good stuff to share. So I'm going to turn the recording off and then we'll have questions. But thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I
thank you.
appreciate you so much.